Hello guys, and welcome back to my Adobe Premiere Pro Masterclass. In this video, I'm going to show you how to adjust clip dimensions and how to animate clips using keyframes in Adobe Premiere Pro. To begin, I've imported these clips onto my timeline over here, and I've used this first clip over here to create the sequence for this project. Now, if I move to the next clip over here, you will notice that we have some black spaces by the left and the right, and the same thing for this image over here. And for this next clip, you'll notice that we have these whole black spaces around this clip over here. The reason for this is because these clips have different dimensions. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to adjust the clip dimensions and ultimately how to animate clips in Premiere Pro. To begin, for this clip over here, the easiest way to adjust clip dimensions to fit a sequence like this is to select this clip, right click and select set or scale to frame size. I'm going to select set to frame size, and automatically you can see that Premiere Pro has attempted to fit the sequence settings of this clip. But the problem is that we still have the black bars by the left and the right over here. And the same thing for this image over here and this clip over here. Now what you need to do, select the clip that you would like to adjust its dimension and come over to Effects Control over here. If you cannot find Effects Control, select Window and scroll down and ensure that Effects Control is checked on. Now select Effects Control. Under Effects Control, there are three major parameters you need to look out for. The first is motion. Under motion, the first is position, the second is scale, and the third is rotation over here. Now let's assume that I want to reveal this After Effects interface. So this is a screen recording of an After Effects masterclass. To remove all this white over here and to remove the black by the side, you can typically come over here and select scale and zoom in to scale in. The problem with this is that when I zoom in to take out the two bars at the bottom, the problem with that is that we are losing some frames by the right also. Now you can always come over to this arrow over here and select it to reset the parameter for it to go back to its original dimensions. Now the other way to fix this is to come over here and select uniform scale. What uniform scale does is that if you come over to a clip, let's say you select motion over here and you select any of these points over here, if you are adjusting the height, it's also adjusting the width over here. If I come over here and adjust the width, it's also affecting the height. So to prevent that, simply come over to uniform scale over here and uncheck it. And right now, if I decide to adjust the width, it's not going to affect the height. You can also come over to the values over here, and if you increase the value over here under the scale height, you are going to see the height adjusting. So I'm going to adjust this height over here till I can no longer see the white, and I'm going to adjust the width over here till I can no longer see the white, and it's a perfect fit. And if I deselect this clip, you can see that we've taken out those excess white, but I still see a slight white at the top and at the right. So I'm going to select this clip. It's important that you select the clip you want to adjust, and I'm going to change the white from 109. I'm just going to make it 110, and for the height over here, I'm going to add 1 to the height also. And for the position here, you can use the position value. So we have the X and the Y value. If I adjust the X value, I'll be moving it to the left. And if I adjust the Y value, I'll be moving it up and down. So I'm going to adjust this to perfectly fit. And as you can see over here, we have perfectly adjusted the dimension of this video to fit this sequence. Let me mute this track layer over here. The same thing applies to this next clip. If I select this clip now and I zoom out, you'll notice that I am missing some clip from this lady. I can decide to zoom in if this is what I want, to have all of this, and this dimension over here is fit to what I want. Alternatively, I can come over here and uncheck uniform scale, and now I can adjust the scale to fit, and now I can adjust the width so that I can get her full shape. The problem with this is that I notice that she's kind of stretched too much to the right and the left, and it's not looking natural. So in this case, I can decide to check uniform scale and just basically scale it to this position. The last clip we have here is this clip over here, I can just select this clip, and if I decide to scale out to reduce the value for scale over here so that I get the exact height, the next thing I can do is uncheck uniform scale over here and scale the width to fit my liking over here. And as you can see now, we've perfectly adjusted the dimension of all these clips over here to fit our timeline. There's no blank space, there's no white space, there's no empty points in any of this clip. Now that we have successfully adjusted the dimensions of this clip, the next thing we need to see is how to animate this clip. To animate a clip, simply move your cursor above the clip you want to animate and select the clip. Now that I have this clip selected, I can come over to this clip, and assuming I want this clip to move from this scale and I want it to zoom in, the first thing you need to do is to move your cursor to the start of that clip and toggle on this stopwatch next to scale and move to the end of the clip or close to the end of the clip and increase the value of scale. Let's say I want it to zoom in to this position where it shows this lady's face. So as I adjust the value of scale, you can see her zooming in over here. Now, if I move this keyframe to the end and go back to the beginning and hit play, you can notice this subtle animation that is happening in Premiere Pro, and this video is zooming into her face. I'm going to stop this now, but what if you also want to adjust the position value? So what I'm going to do is move this cursor here. Now, if you want to adjust the position, the first thing you need to do is to on the stopwatch next to position and move the position value to the start. Now, at this point where we have this, our last keyframe, this is what is going to be seen. Her head to this position. What if I want to restore the frames that have been lost up here? I could come over to the position value and adjust the Y value so that this frame comes up. So what I'm telling Premiere Pro is that I want it to zoom in, and at the end, I want to see these three people. So I can select these last two keyframes and drag them to the right. So if I go back now and hit play, we're going to have this video zooming in, and rather than zooming into the center, it's going to zoom into the level I want it to appear, which is I want to see these three subjects zoomed in. So if I drag this cursor further to make it faster, you will see that it zooms in to this position over here. The same thing applies if I want to zoom in to, let's say this is my screen recording, and at this point where I'm revealing this panel over here, I want to zoom in into this panel. Now the first thing is to select this clip you want to animate, and you'll notice that we have already adjusted the parameters of this clip, unlike this one that we did not adjust any parameters to. If I select this clip and begin to adjust the position value, it's going to affect these parameters. To fix that, the first thing you need to do is to create a nested clip. How do you do that? You select the clip, right click and select nest clip and hit OK. What this does is, if I select this clip and come over to the effects control, you will notice that the scale is 100, the position is feet, and the rotation, everything is as simple as earlier. I can now, having this clip selected, come over here and say that I want to animate this clip to zoom into this portion. So the first thing is I'm going to move my playhead to the beginning of where I want this animation to begin. Let's say it's at this point. Come over here and toggle on scale and the position value and select these two keyframes and move them to the left and move to the right to where I want this animation to end. Let's assume I want it to end here. I can increase the scale value by coming over here with my cursor and dragging it until it's really close. Next, I'll come over to the position value. As you can see, the panel is missing over here and we really want to show this panel. So come over to the X position value, which is the one by the left, and adjust this position value to the point where this panel is very visible. And if we leave this keyframe, assuming we want it to start at this position and end at this position, we don't want it to go to the end, all you need to do is to move to the start. And when I hit play, you'll notice that it begins to gradually zoom and it zooms in until where it stops where I want it to stop with this panel over here. Now, what if you wanted to zoom out at a position? Let's say at this position, I wanted to zoom out to the original state. All you need to do is to select the point where you want it to begin to zoom out and come over to the scale and position value and toggle on this diamond icon over here to add keyframes. So what this means is that from this point to this point, because the values here are the same, 156 and 540, 1597, if I select this back arrow, it takes me to the previous keyframes, and you can see that it's the same value, 156, 540. So this means that there will not be any animation over here. So to move to the next keyframe, select this forward arrow and it takes us to this keyframe. Now we are assuming that we want it to come to this end and reverse back to showing us the full screen. To do that, simply come over here and select this reset parameter and select the reset parameter also for both scale and position and move the keyframes to the end of the screen over here. And now if we use this left arrow to go back to the previous keyframe, which is over here, and I hit play, you'll notice that it begins to scale out automatically to show us the entire screen. And as you can see, we have this simple animation happening. Now let's assume for this image over here, let's assume we want to create a kind of rotation with this clip over here. Because we've already adjusted the scale and the position value, if you want to rotate this image, the first thing you need to do is to move your player to the position where you want the rotation to begin, which is at the start for me, and on the keyframe next to rotation. Now move further in time to where you want it to end and change the value for rotation. So as you can see, the rotation value, let's assume we want it to rotate to 90 degrees. I can just type 90 over here. And we have a problem here. I'm noticing that the scale over here is showing black. To fix that, I can come over here and toggle on scale to the initial scale value and take the keyframe to the left. And at this position, to get rid of this black, I'm going to increase the scale value this way. I may also want to change the position value. So I'm going to toggle on the stopwatch next to position and move the keyframe to the start. And I'm saying that at the end, I don't want her face to be cut out. I want her face to be revealed perfectly in the center like this. So now, if I go back and hit play, I'm going to move my time indicator over here. If I go back and hit play, you'll notice that she zooms in. There's this rotation that is happening here until she fits to the center on the last frame over here. However, we see that we still have so much blacks in between. To get rid of this black, I'm going to take the last keyframe for scale and increase this scale keyframe. Now, if I take this to the end and hit play, let me move this to the start and hit play, you'll notice that, okay, I still need to increase this value quite a bit and take this to the end. Now, if I go to the start of this clip over here and hit play, you'll notice that the video begins to animate and that black bar is invincible. So basically, that's it on how to rotate clips and create animation. So I'm going to create a simple zoom in on this last clip. Select the clip. If you want it to zoom in, because we've already adjusted the properties over here, if I want to create animations on this clip, because it's not uniform scale over here, the first thing I'm going to do is to right click on this clip and select next this clip. And now, if I select it, you'll notice that the uniform scale is on. Now, I could decide here that I want to adjust the scale value. So I'll hold down scale at this position and move the scale to the end and move further in time. And assuming I really want to zoom in, I could change this from 100 to 300% and hit OK. Now, if I go back to the beginning and hit play, you'll notice that we are having a really close zoom in. Let me move further so you can see it. The video really continues to zoom in. And that's it, guys, on how to adjust clip dimensions and animate clips in Premiere Pro. Thank you for watching and see you in my next tutorial tomorrow.